The anime begins by showing us the most powerful and feared king of all time, a legendary warrior whose mere name inspired terror in his enemies. However, in an unexpected twist of fate, this invincible monarch suddenly finds himself suspended in an ethereal and unknown space where a mysterious voice announces that his new life is about to begin and that he must move toward the light shining before him. Confused, but with no other choice, he advances toward the radiance, only to discover with astonishment that he has been reborn as a helpless newborn in the arms of two strangers who gaze at him with tenderness. To his surprise, they introduce themselves as his parents. Reincarnated, a man with a firm gaze and the aura of a warrior, and Alice, a woman with a warm demeanor but a glimmer of magical power in her eyes. Now named Arthur, he struggles to comprehend what has happened. After a lifetime of conquests and battles, he has been reduced to a fragile infantile body, incapable of even controlling his most basic functions, like holding up his own head or avoiding soiling himself. Frustration overwhelms him as he finds himself trapped in what he describes as a prison of flesh, where his sharp mind clashes against the physical limitations of his new form. The first days in this world are a mix of fascination and humiliation for Arthur. His father demonstrates abilities that clearly surpass human limits, performing magical techniques that shatter trees with a single strike. He also witnesses how a mistake in controlling this power leaves Reincarnated severely injured, only for his mother to heal him with a recovery spell. This contrast between brute strength and refined magic deeply intrigues him. Little by little, Arthur realizes he has arrived in a world where magic is not only real, but the very foundation of society. However, he also notes with concern that weapons are common among the population, leading him to conclude that he must regain his power as soon as possible if he hopes to survive in this new environment. Despite everything, there are aspects of his new life that he unexpectedly enjoys, such as the ability to sleep deeply without fear of being assassinated, a luxury he never had in his previous existence as a monarch, always on guard. As the months pass, Arthur masters crawling, though he still feels a strange resistance every time he hears his new name. Taking advantage of his parents' trust, he begins exploring in secret, particularly his mother's room, where he discovers a small library containing books on history and magic. It is here that he obtains vital information about the continent of Dicathen, the place where he has been reborn. This land is divided into three main kingdoms: the kingdom of Deret, an underground nation inhabited by unknown races; the kingdom of Sapin, where he currently lives, ruled by humans and the most populous of the three; the kingdom of Eleanor, home to the elves, beings of grace and superior magical power. Arthur analyzes every detail, comparing this world to his previous one, and concludes that although Sapin is a monarchy like many he knew, the throne is inherited peacefully, without the constant succession wars he was accustomed to. However, what fascinates him most is the central role of magic in society, which explains the apparent technological lag compared to his original world. The books also reveal the fundamentals of mana, the energy that fuels magic in this world. Arthur learns there are two main types of users: conjurers, who project and shape mana to cast spells; augmenters, who use it to enhance their physical abilities to superhuman levels. His mother, with her healing abilities, seems to be an exception to this rule. Most people discover their ability to manipulate mana during puberty, when they manage to concentrate the dispersed energy in their bodies to form a stable core. But Arthur, remembering his knowledge of ki and internal energy warriors in his world cultivated, decides not to wait. He begins experimenting in secret, attempting to sense and control the flow of mana within his tiny body. However, during one of these sessions, his mother catches him, his face red with effort. Mistaking his concentration for another accident, she humiliates him by assuming he has soiled himself again. The shame he feels is profound, but it also motivates him to be more careful in his future practices. As the years pass, Arthur remains a peculiar child, serious, analytical, and rarely smiling, yet absorbing all the knowledge he can. His impatient father tries to prematurely initiate him into swordsmanship, only to be immediately scolded by Alice, who proves to be the true authority in the household. This family dynamic makes Arthur reflect on the power structures in this world, wondering if societies here are more matriarchal than those he knew. During a trip to the city, Arthur has his first direct contact with this world society and is amazed by the level of development in magical weapons and objects, though he still considers them primitive compared to his memories. What impresses him most is seeing street magicians performing minor spells, confirming that magic is an everyday part of life here. Back home, as his mother changes him yet again, Arthur reflects on how fortunate he is, despite everything, to have a family that cares for him, something he never had in his past life as an orphan raised in battle. The next day, while watching his father train with superhuman intensity, proving himself to be a high-level augmenter, Arthur feels he can't waste any more time. That same night, taking advantage of his parents' distraction, he practices forming his monocore with greater determination than ever. Concentrating every fragment of dispersed energy in his body, he finally completes the process. But the energy release is so violent that it triggers an explosion, destroying part of the house. Terrified, his parents rush to him, instinctively shielding him from the debris. When the dust settles, they look at Arthur with a mix of disbelief and pride. Their son, not yet 3 years old, has achieved the impossible by forming a monocore at an age when he shouldn't even be able to sense energy flow. Arthur, for his part, doesn't understand why they're crying. To him, they simply fulfilled their duty as parents by protecting him. But something inside him is moved by this display of unconditional love, a concept so foreign to his past experience that he can't help but burst into tears for the first time since arriving in this world. In an abrupt shift, the scene changes to a dark cave somewhere remote on the continent where a creature of shadows and glowing eyes awakens, as if Arthur's mana explosion had disturbed its slumber. The creature smiles, thus ending the chapter. The chapter begins with a scene shift, showing Arthur's past in his previous life, where he was known as King Grey. Back then, he had to attend a hearing where he was to deliver a sentence for a man who committed the crime of attempting to assassinate the king. However, the council was lenient, deciding to escort the man and his family back to their country to await sentencing. The man pleaded with them to wait, arguing that while it was true he had tried to attack the king, the crime was his alone, and he didn't want his wife or son involved. He knew that returning to his country would be a fate worse than death, and he accepted it as his punishment, but he begged for his family's forgiveness. He then prostrated himself fully before King Grey, making his plea directly to him. But the council warned him to be careful with his words, as this matter did not deserve the king's attention. Suddenly, Grey approached his family and, in a swift attack, took their lives. The council made the man see that the king had saved them from endless suffering, something the man reluctantly accepted, having no other choice but to resign himself to it. Returning to Arthur, years pass, and now his father trains him in combat, offering him a pair of gloves identical to his own. Arthur rejects them, preferring the sword, as he knows that with his current body, using such weapons would leave him vulnerable to enemies who could kill him before he could even strike. Though Reynolds is hurt by this, he had been excited to pass on his gloves. He accepts Arthur's choice and begins training him. After receiving a few attacks from his father, Arthur learns how to imbue his weapon with magic. He grasps the concept just by watching, and soon does the same with his wooden sword. When he strikes, he destroys his father's staff, leaving Reynolds completely surprised. Later, Reynolds speaks with Alice, telling her that Arthur needs a real teacher. He remembers that he was supposed to be the one to train him, but their son has such great potential that a proper master could help him explore it further. Alice disagrees and suggests teaching him her magic, but Reynolds points out that her case is special and wouldn't be effective. Besides, Arthur, despite being only 4 years old, managed to pierce something reinforced with mana. Alice is astonished, but still refuses to let her son go and even tries to convince Reynolds to change his mind. This sparks an argument between them, while Arthur thinks that emotions sometimes cloud one's judgment. He proposes a third option, suggesting that both parents accompany him. After a long silence, his parents call him a genius for the excellent idea and start packing for the journey. Arthur notices their energetic mood and can't help but smile in happiness. Later, carriages arrive to pick them up, and at his father's request, Arthur introduces himself to the group. The leader, assuming Arthur doesn't remember him, introduces himself, but Arthur recognizes him well. They were the adventurers who helped rebuild the house after he destroyed it long ago. The group is called the Twin Horns, where Reynolds and Alice once belonged. The leader is Adam Crench, and the other members are Angela Rose, Durden Walker, Jasmine Flamesworth, and Helen Shart, basically names fit for an NBA player. Once everything is ready, they begin their journey. Along the way, Arthur remarks that this mode of transportation is very primitive compared to the advanced technology of his past life. Still, it's not so bad, as he can sit comfortably with his mother. They're heading to a city called Cyrus, but danger lurks everywhere in this world. While camping, monsters suddenly attack, and the group quickly prepares to fight. Arthur observes their combat styles. Adam, Helen, and Jasmine are enhancers, while Angela and Durden appear to be conjurers. After defeating the enemies, Arthur admires their skills and resolves to become as strong as them soon. That night, Arthur reflects on the lack of comforts while traveling, though at least the food is freshly cooked. His mother sighs deeply, and when he asks what's wrong, she says she's full. He stares at her plate, and Alice notices Reynolds' injured arm. She sets her plate aside to heal him, but Helen and Jasmine signal her to wait as they guard the forest. While Alice heals Reynolds, Arthur realizes his mother is a rare type of mage called an emitter, with healing powers. Such mages usually hide their abilities to avoid becoming targets, which explains why his parents lived anonymously in the countryside. Soon after, Adam asks Reynolds for permission to take Arthur for training. Though surprised, Arthur agrees since his father doesn't object. Adam wields a spear, and Arthur doubts the training will be easy, but he keeps his concerns to himself, internally criticizing them for forgetting he's only 4. Adam asks if he's ready and begins imbuing his weapon with mana. Arthur notices he isn't holding back, so he responds in kind, channeling mana into his weapon and legs. This surprises Adam, and without hesitation, Arthur attacks. Adam blocks, but Arthur vanishes from his sight, reappearing behind him, though he skids slightly on the dirt. He manages to block Adam's follow-up strikes, but a powerful blow sends him flying, his lightweight body unable to withstand it. Angela uses wind magic to cushion his fall, much to Alice's relief, who feared her chocolate bonbon, Arthur, would be crushed. The group scolds Adam for going too far, but he defends himself, calling Arthur a little monster. Distracted by their argument, Arthur is startled when Jasmine suddenly appears beside him, asking how he did that. He stays silent, unsure how to respond, but recognizes her determined gaze. She won't give up until she gets answers. The journey continues smoothly, and during this time, Arthur trains and learns from everyone, even sharing knowledge from his past life. He teaches Jasmine how to enhance her feat for speed, and over time, her presence grows closer to him, which he doesn't mind. Unexpectedly, Jasmine reveals she learned it's his birthday and gifts him a knife as thanks for his teachings. Arthur is surprised but grateful, realizing she's grown fond of him. The girls are shocked, as Jasmine rarely bonds with anyone, but Alice proudly claims it's because her son is charming. As they prepare to leave, Arthur notices his mother's discomfort and asks what's wrong. She brushes it off, but her words leave him uneasy. While traveling through the mountains, bandits ambush them, using arrows to pin them down while surrounding them. Angela repels the projectiles with her magic, but the situation is dire. The bandit leader demands they surrender the woman, Alice, and the child, Arthur, threatening harm if they resist. Despite the danger, Alice reassures Arthur, promising to stay by his side. The group fights back. Durden restrains attackers from above, Reynolds engages in close combat, Helen snipes with her bow, and Adam and Jasmine defend the carriages. Arthur worries about their numerical disadvantage, and as the battle drags on, exhaustion sets in. The bandit leader slams Reynolds into a carriage, severely injuring him. Alice and Arthur are forced to flee, but Reynolds urges Arthur to protect his mother, revealing she's pregnant. Shocked, Arthur finally understands her recent behavior. Arthur vows to protect her and escapes with Alice. The bandits pursue, but Reynolds lands a crushing punch on their leader, buying time. Adam and Jasmine throw weapons to clear a path, urging Arthur not to stop. As he runs, Arthur reflects on his past sins, killing a family, and wonders if this is karma. A conjurer bandit attacks with wind magic. Arthur pushes Alice to safety, but is struck and falls off a cliff. Mid-air, he throws his dagger, dragging the bandit down with him. Angela and Durden try to save him with magic, but Arthur feels an odd fulfillment, finally understanding the emotions of the man he once condemned. He thinks of his unborn sibling and sheds tears, regretting he won't be an older brother. The scene shifts. Arthur wakes in an unknown forest, face to face with a giant, imposing monster who greets him by name, leaving him stunned. The chapter ends.